is Wednesday. I totally forgot yesterday was St. Patrick's Day. Kind of in all of this, the days are already starting to blur together a little bit. So happy belated St. Patrick's Day. There is some green showing up here outside my window. Some of the trees are starting to get their leaves back. But yeah, so we moved the desk back into its normal spot today. We were able to figure out the camera setup with all of that. So happy to be back. Kind of in the normal spot that I create. We're a little bit further, like 3 inches from where it was sitting, but we've got this. I've got all this great natural light that comes in these windows. Today it's a little bit diffused with the gray skies and the rain, but I'm going to enjoy my rainy day because it just says don't go outside when I'm not really supposed to go outside that much and go around and be and do and be out. So that being said, we're ready to jump back in to our little piece here, which it does have a name. It's kind of a weird name because I told my sister I was going to be creating a piece based on her betta fish that kind of passed away. Well, it did pass away, not kind of, back a couple of weeks ago now. And so this is called Shish at Rest. Anyway, her fish was named Shish the Fish. So anyway, that is the name of this piece, just in case you were wondering, that we're working on right now. Our next step is going to be working with my beautiful Bic pen right here, or pencil. I have had these forever, and they are the 0.9 size, so they're a little bit wider than a normal one. I like them because the leads are nice and soft. They're great. The erasers on these are incredible, and they're totally refillable, so, you know, buy once, keep them. I have one that I replaced blue leads in, so that, non-photo blue, so that I can sketch on things too. And that has worked out great for use in that application. They're great all-around pencils. So this is actually the second set I bought because, as you know, even when you plan on refilling, pencils and pens just tend to walk away after a while. And so after like 6 or 7 years, maybe 10, I don't know, all of my other ones pretty much walked away. So I needed a new set to kind of restock the stash. So anyway, I'm ready to jump in on this. Now I have my plan right here. So we will be working off of this where I've kind of decided how I'm going to work on this and create it. I'm not going to be putting all of these lines on right now. I'm going to be putting a lot of them on, but the starter, I don't know what that is, piece of schmutz, so that I will know in the next step, because the next step I'm going to move onto my easel, which is right here. We'll be adjusting the camera to go with the easel. I'm sorry, I am making the camera swipe right now because I'm moving my desk. And in that, then we'll go back to our paint and create a little bit of dimension with this by doing some shading and adding a little more detail. That's why this coat wasn't super, super, super important. It is to lay the base coat, but it's like if it's not 100% perfect, I'm going to be revisiting this a couple more times. Well, actually, one more time with paint and then with all the inking and the extra bits on that. So to jump right in, the first thing I'm going to do, and this is the way I found to do great ovals. And this is going to look a little bit strange at first, but what I do is I divide this orange into rectangles. Like this. The beauty of this kind of a style that I'm creating on this is that they don't have to be perfect. Just similar in size. You don't want them super far off from each other, but similar works. Okay, so there's one. I'm going to do this one over here. The little ones you don't have to worry about too much because they kind of hide in the design. My producer just started shaking over there.
That would be Lottie, not me.
That's Lottie, the dog. Yeah. She doesn't give a lot of feedback, though. It's one hard thing with working with her. So I'm just working my way around right here. trying not to block the shot, but working in this area is like the worst spot when you are right-handed for the camera. Okay, and then over here, I'm gonna move this up before I put my arm in it. I'm wearing a nicer shirt today, even though it does have some neon paint on it, of course, because it's one of my shirts. I actually have the most in neon shades. I love working with neon. I decided to be kind to the camera and not work in those for on camera. Those are my brushes over here clicking. I'm going to move those also out of the way for right now. So this goes pretty fast. So I'd love to know what you are doing to pass the time right now, as we're all just kind of stuck sitting at home. So this guy gets divided in half. And which one goes on top? Okay, I set up this one for going on top. And then this guy, I'm going to put a line right here so I can remember. Then this gets divided in half. That one does. This one does. There we go. So on this part, I'm just doing circles. And just little free-handed circles. I have one piece that I'm working on that I actually got my circle guide out because that one is all done with straight lines, going straight across the page and then filled. And because it was so precise, I felt I needed to kind of keep them pretty structured. So I did a lot more measuring on that one, which meant that this step took forever. I was kind of surprised at how long. Normally this one goes pretty fast. And there we go. We'll just go right off and under there. And then more circles. I'm doing this a little backwards. Normally if you start from the larger area and work to the smaller, you can make them all fit. Squeeze that guy in right there. A couple down here. Sometimes, like over here, I took it underneath. You can choose whether you want to imagine it's going off the paper. Something fun I do. Sometimes I'll take it off, sometimes I'll leave it to where it's like crammed all on. Either way, it's your choice. It's the beauty of creating. Make sure my hand is kind of in the way right now. I'm trying to keep it out. Actually, here.
I know 182 says hello from Germany.
Hi, German. I hope you are doing well in Germany. Guten Tag, I guess, or it's night, so Guten Nacht probably over there. I'm guessing. I don't know my time zones well enough to judge.
Can you say good afternoon in German?
No idea. No idea on afternoon.
Maybe Anna can help us out with that.
I know Guten Morgen, but I don't know if the afternoon word, word. My
Look that up on Google right now.
German skills are not huge.
Let's see.
Okay, a couple more circles. We are almost done with the circle phase.
It's still Guten Tag.
It is? Okay. It's kind of like French then, because French doesn't have a word for good morning.
Yeah.
It has good night, good day, and other words, but doesn't have specifically morning, so they don't have afternoon as one. Oh, sorry, I went off there. I've got to keep looking. I am so out of practice with this. So I'm going to take a drink of my coffee. The wind's picking up.
So Guten Morgen, Guten Tag, Guten Nacht.
Okay, got it. Okay. I am drinking Stormio, in case you were wondering, from my Nespresso.
And then it's burning through those pods during the break here.
So we bought a Nespresso for the studio before the studio closed. Now I'm just creating waves.
Well, when we bought it when we just opened the studio.
Yeah, and I bought for the studio a bunch of pods to store and save. And then me being me was like a total miser with them. And then we closed the studio and we brought all that home. I realized that the pods I had sitting there were like a year old already. And like we had a ton of them.
We need to drink those.
So now we're drinking them. Like we're going through, it's like our little bit of sunshine in all of this while we're stuck at home. At least we have decent coffee. And the beauty is they've stayed nice and fresh, so I can't complain too much.
Well, they're like vacuum sealed. I mean, so
Yeah.
they shouldn't.
And their recycling program with them is pretty cool. Because like they make pens, like nice pens too. And they actually made bicycles out of the recycled cartridges too, which is nuts. So today we're going to work on, after we're live, we're going to work on adding music in for our background. Like we have to program it in a little bit and that kind of thing, so that for tomorrow we'll actually have some background music ready to go and some other cool things like that.
Yeah.
If I really get feeling fancy and in an editing mind, or Jeremiah gets home and I put him to work, we may actually have titles and things for the live stream. We have the capability to do it.
Let's give us a little applause for that.
Through our switcher, we just have never taken the time to sit down and program it. Oh, that was a stupid line. That one was not going where it's supposed to, and that one's not where it's supposed to either. There we go. There we go. Now it's going up. I know it's probably going to look, oh, come on. I can draw a line, really. Now this is where these white erasers on this come in great. They are a great eraser for this. Here's the cool thing. None of these products are sponsors. My channel is too small and has been too inactive to even think about sponsors just yet. So if I talk about it, it's because I really like it. Okay, so there is that part of this done. The background, I'm just going to treat as one giant one. I can show you the plan, my horribly messy plan right here. It's going to get some triangles on it, but the triangles are going to go in white. So that I don't really need to sketch those on. Also, the way my white pen, and I'll show you how I use my white when we get there, isn't super opaque. So I don't want to have a pencil line underneath of it. But as I don't use a gel pen, I'm actually using the Repeatograph white ink. I'm trying to get better with those, so making myself use them on everything rather than cheating and going back to what was easier. But with these, I'm just going to come in and sketch it. So I'm going to do my shading just as if it's one regular big piece. So no shading there. So now we're to the point where we're going to start doing the circles in the sun. I am going to get out my circle tool for this one, just because there's quite a few circles. Something I have learned with doing this is you could sit here and work to get it perfectly centered. I find that they become actually more interesting when you don't 100% perfectly center it. It's actually close is good, but not perfect. We'll actually make the whole piece a little more interesting with this. So I'm looking at the 1 1/4 right here. So I'm going to go in like this, real light on this yellow because the yellow does show. As you see, I'm just eyeballing it in the middle, not a perfect measure. So we got this. This. And that. And now I'm going to go to my smaller, and this is the easier one to grab. I'm going to do a nice little tight middle. We'll do the 3/8. I think the 3/8 will be good. And just kind of eyeballing a middle. Those all came out pretty close for just eyeballing, so I am very happy with those. The next step for creating all this is I'm now going to divide these, and this makes a fun like orange citrus kind of shape when we're finished. I'll clean up, come in and, okay, I'm drawing in a line that's a little difficult. There we go. And I'm just dividing, again, light strokes. Close is good. So I'll move mine so I'm not totally on the exact same axis for all of these. There we go. Now this one. This is a fun, bright piece to work on today while it's so rainy.
That's been the interesting thing during this quarantine is it's been raining so much, which is highly unusual.
Yeah, we're in San Diego. We're normally sunny. And here, nobody knows what to do in the rain, so everybody just naturally stays home. So we were curious. You know, you can give speculation on stuff like that, but how much it might affect our numbers, if it would actually keep it down, just because naturally, before this got crazy, nobody was going out. So. Almost done here. And when I'm working like this, I rotate my piece constantly. Okay, so there's that started. Now we're gonna do sun rays. And I like thought about like this type of suns that you drew when you were a kid, like you might put sunglasses on, you know, kind of a thing. And so because these are eventually gonna look like petals this way, I thought it would be fun to have the points be here on these. And so I've got a guide here to make points from what I just created. So you see that made a sun out of that. I'm going to go around this guy. And after today, we'll be making a playlist out of all of this, since we'll have 2 videos. So that if people join later and they can go back and see where it came from if they want to know how something was done. I'm actually going to take that out a little bit and we'll bring the yellow out a little bit more on this one. creating sunshines. I'm always amazed when it erases so cleanly. It's like, wow, it actually worked. I don't know if you've ever been working on a piece and.
Sorry.
What are you watching? Ben just was like, had something on his phone.
I was posting something.
Okay. That's kind
And
of
then
weird.
I accidentally tapped a live feed.
Like all of a sudden I get this weird voice coming from the
That'd
peanut
be
gallery
Ivan
over there.
Spencer talking to us right there. And just so everyone knows, the news reports are coming through. Betty White is still okay.
Okay, good. Okay, so there's that and one more. There we go. Okay, that's got that part done. Now the next step is I've got little circles added in here. I'm just going to freehand those. Because each one of these is a slightly different size. And this way I can just kind of make it to fit the space.
And this is a different design than your similar design that you did for the online course too.
Mm-hmm. Which we may be bringing back. It's kind of closed right now. I've got to do some editing on it and try to figure out.
But the foundational inspiration points are kind of the same, right?
Similar. I'm using different colors and
Yeah.
Okay, almost done with all these circles, and then we're going to get to painting. So it means I've got to try to shift cameras here for a minute.
Well, I can do that.
So while we're shifting, we'll go to my face cam in just a second.
There you go.
And that way you guys don't get seasick. There we
Switch to
go.
face.
So now I can talk to you guys while I show Ben where this is going to go. I may need my light because we may not be able to see it with all this backlight. Or if we drop the shade, that may help. So this is going to have to swing back over up my shoulder.
All right.
Just kind of square it up as much as you can. And then we'll have to see if this like totally washes it out. We did not test this shot ahead of time. Okay, the arm is not.
Well, the arm is not going to keep it up that high. I need to switch it to a...
Well, I mean, you can probably set it there. I don't use my left.
They're just going to see the other camera.
Oh, well, I have cameras here.
That's not bad.
What does my hand look like in front of it?
Looks
Is
like
it
a hand.
hiding? Is it hiding? I gotta try to get it. What's light levels too?
No.
Because I think if we drop that, I won't be backlit so bad. That's not gonna do anything. I have a decorative light up here. I just thinking if we pulled the shade down,
This one?
yeah, that would help.
Sure. It's going to block some of your face.
That's okay. I've got my face is less necessary than making sure this is lit
We're
well.
still good there. Yeah, we're just not getting a good light on that.
I've got another light. Hold on just a second. We can bring over. This is normally how I work when I'm working in the window because
If I have to run and get a light, I'll go get one.
I love working at this spot, but there are points in the afternoon that the amount of light coming in, and if I'm on my easel, just ends up becoming very, very difficult. What is, oh, I had a drip from when I was checking my paints before. I did get that done. So anyway, now I kind of feel like I'm in moody lighting. Like he's looking to see what it looks like. I'm watching him.
Well, it's not great.
It's not coming together great.
So you do what you need to do. I'll bring you a real light.
Okay, he's gonna get a real light. So I'm gonna go ahead and talk through some of this stuff. I can't really see what I'm doing. So I've got my paints from yesterday. There is the blue. I did add a little bit more of the open and everything else to kind of keep it awake and not dried up this morning. I have my set right here. So I've got that shade that I used yesterday, that one, and the orange. They should be fine. They've been sealed overnight. If I have to kind of give them a little bit of help, I can do that. I still have my paints here too. Basically, here's the colors for this piece right here, those. Now to make the darker right there, it's these two combined. Everything else is just pretty much the straight color. I will say that the yellow does have a little bit of my regular cadmium, my regular yellow, which I can't remember which yellow that is right now. Just kind of dripped into it in here, not a whole lot. So it's mostly this Aureolin hue. We are going to pull out, and I keep it in a large thing because I use so much of it, this titanium white right here to blend. And then I have pretty standard, a paper towel and some water that I should have changed before I got on today, but it's really not gonna make that much of a difference. So the fact that it's a little bit colored. So my brushes today. I'm really loving my Filbert right now. I don't know if you're like me, but like I rotate through which brushes I'm using a ton. So most of this I'm not gonna be using this one. I'll use it in the big area here. But it's gonna be a mixture of the Filbert, my liner, and maybe this shader right here is a 4. This shader, by the way, is a 10. I do have an angled one over there. I used to use angled a whole lot in my brushes, and I'm just finding that I just don't use them as much as I used to. So I've got that beautiful 1/4" angle shader too, that if I need, I can grab. It kind of depends on my mood and also the angle I'm working at. So basically all this is gonna be is working with white on this. I'm realizing I'm showing this to camera and you didn't switch to that camera.
You're on your face camera.
I've been showing the wrong camera the whole time and you're probably like, oh my gosh, I jumped over. Here are my brushes, right here. Filbert, everybody else. Paint, right here. So all ready to go. Paints, here. Hi. Welcome to my, really I've been doing this longer than I let on. I'm just
You're being authentic.
I am used to having somebody over there manning the cameras to where I don't think about it. And so I realized, oh crud, I did not do that well. It's not like we have lights that say oh no, we do. It does have a light to tell me which camera.
It tells you which one you're on.
Oh.
But you can't see the other.
Yeah, I can't see this one over here. So if I had been looking for that, I would have known.
That's okay.
Wow, you got the big light.
I told you I'm going to take care of you.
He didn't even get like a little light. He got like the mega one.
Yeah. I'm playing it right here.
So I'm suddenly going to go from moody light to hello. Yeah.
All right.
We want to balance. We're probably going to need to take that down a little bit because it's going to do some weird things to my face.
I just turned it on. All right. Let me.
See what we look like over there?
Okay, it's still not helping with the painting. It's real funny.
This is really, really exciting. This I'm sitting here like, I'm waiting.
No, let's watch not in the camera. Let's not do that.
Yeah.
That's really fun. It's not helping.
You need to come over my shoulder here
Yeah, I
because
do.
you're not at a 45. but then that's going to totally kill the face camera.
Well, we're going to the other one anyway.
So anyway, sorry that we're blinding you now in the face cam.
We're down on this one now. We're good.
So, okay.
We're off the face cam.
Okay, so now I can get to work over here. I was waiting. That's everything. So I have not stirred my white yet this morning. So we're going to start with the teal just because the darker, the turquoise, this is technically teal, but the white is a little bit thicker than the other just because it helps with the blending. So I'm going to stay out of the camera. What I'm going to do is I'm starting on a bigger one so you can see. As I just did that, I'm just wiping with dry, and I'm going to grab the tiniest little dot right here. Dot that in. And I'm just going to blend it. Now it's hard to, because the paint's wet. I have to angle over here. So, little secret I've learned, if I want to make it lighter, you blend from the inside out. If I want to darken it a little bit, blend from the outside in. For the way I do these, I've done a lot of these little dots. So you're not going to be able to, I don't know how much you can see in the camera right now while it's wet because it's still pretty glossy. When it dries, you'll be able to see it a little bit more. Oh, I forgot. This likes to wiggle, and I have a card that is like the perfect thing right there to keep it a lot more stable. There we go. As Ben is adjusting our lighting now. This is what production looks like from home. Got a little too much paint on my brush there. There we go. I'm just going to start working it out. And I'll come back to these a couple of times, like just getting it right. Especially once you get a couple next to each other and you can see it. Still making my, my producer is checking the weather conditions right now. So you see what I'm doing right here? I'm basically going to do this on all of these dots. So from here we get pretty repetitive. And so this is one of those great things that you can do when you're feeling, like, I don't want to think too much. I want to create and just kind of zone out. And right here, so I'm going to go do the big one, so you guys, hopefully that'll help you guys see too. Note, I put a little more paint on my brush. And I work to go all the way out and cover the pencil line too when I'm doing this. Just FYI. So it's not to the pencil line, it's over the pencil line. Need a teeny bit more white. When you're used to doing the little ones, you get used to getting the tiniest little. So now you can kind of see how we're creating a gradient in here. You don't have to do this step. I just really like the finished product. And I have the first one I really like went all in. I got one that's big. It's not really posted anywhere because I can't scan it. So it's, even though it looks incredible, I have to go down and have it done at another space. Was a bunch of nasturtiums that I did in something like this. And then I did another one, and you can go check this one out. It's over on the Redbubble. in which I did, sorry, take a drink of my coffee there. I did a thing of, inspired by redwoods. I'm not going to say they look like redwoods. It's shapes making redwoods. And I
I'll drop
love
the link in the chat here real quick for that.
the way that one turned out with the colors and everything, just the dimension it gave. And that one was done with acrylics as well. Sometimes I do watercolors. So it's posted which ones are watercolors, which ones are and that was actually one of the main points of the course, if I ever get back to getting it put together, was going through the different media and showing how they worked with this. Because one of the cool things is using markers too as a watercolor type media. And I've done that on these as well. I have some great ones for it. They're from Pentel. They're their sign brush markers.
Not a sponsor.
Not a sponsor. I actually learned about them at a class years ago at an art store. Like they had this thing where like you could do $10 classes and you actually walked away with more than $10 in materials when you were done with the class, like freebies, giveaways. So it was a really fun thing to get to go do. They call it T-Rexpo. So shout out to the Preston Art Center in Louisville, Kentucky. And it was really fun to go do that. You got to learn some techniques and try different supplies. So if you have a local art store that does things like that, those are wonderful little extras. What was that noise?
And you should always support your local art store.
Oh, definitely. I think a child stated that they were not happy outside. It's like a weird noise. So our producer's favorite toy is literally a toilet paper tube.
She just brought it to you.
She did. She wants me to play with her.
Mommy can't play right now, puppy.
We're going to go ahead and drop into this one too.
Get it. Get your mail.
So tiny right there. I get the teeniest little dots here. The tiny ones are the hard ones. The big ones are actually a lot easier, in case you were wondering. They have a lot more space where you can blend.
So where do you get a tiny easel like that?
I got this one at Blick. And it works great for this. I have another one that's a little more beefy that I use with larger. This is like an inexpensive, like $10 easel. Mainly meant more for displaying, but I find that it works great for working with this smaller paper. I'm gonna darken that up a little bit.
So usually you have whatever recent piece you've completed over by the front door on that.
Well, I still have it on the block because I'm working on a block. If I take it off, if it's just in paper and not in a frame, the paper will start to curl. So I don't ever just have plain paper sitting in one of these. As nice as it would be, but it's just not stable enough.
What are the advantages to working on a block, besides the edges not curling?
Well, I mean, it just holds it in place. It's, I've got some boogers up there. I like them because they allow me some portability with it. Yeah, I can tape to an artist board and work that way. This is just ultimately more portable. And putting it away, like if I'm If I work on something and I'm like, I can't decide what to do next, I can put it away safely and come back to it. That was too much paint. So that works out well on these. I have like the mini size, the basically index card size, and I really like that too for testing ideas. I was fortunate enough years ago at the TR Expo to get a sample before Strathmore came out with their mixed media tone tan paper. And that has proved incredible for getting to test things before I go into the larger paper. Like the one I showed, it's in my Instagram feed yesterday, that I did of the cherry blossom, that I did that first on a small scale so that I could double test my colors and make sure I was happy with the way they were interacting with the paper, because ultimately I had my paints at a consistency that they were fairly wet, so they were going to go on really translucent. And I wanted the paper to shine through, especially on the background and on the wood, and then on the pinks and the whites that are naturally more opaque. It wasn't going to show through as much. So it kind of added in the dimensionality there, having the paper be chosen specifically for the piece versus doing it on white.
I just dropped the link for Preston Art Center and for your cherry blossom print
Okay.
in the chat.
I think I would like to maybe have that like on a bag or something. I think would be fun, or a coffee mug.
We could do that.
So I'm drinking today out of a Christmas mug. I like the size of it, and I use it year round. I mean, it is, and it's not like overtly Christmas, because it says I Dove too, but it has 2 turtle doves on it, or I Dove you, yeah. And I love this song. I love the 12 Days of Christmas, like as a decorating thing for Christmas. It's just kind of fun and silly.
It was just a Target piece.
Yeah, but this was and I bought 3 mugs that had like those little phrases on them. One says "Bear with me" and one says "Hey there, hot stuff." So.
I like the Waffle House style diner mug.
Oh, there is a coffee shop here, Dark Horse, that they are so good on their design game that you will buy something there and love the design that you got, and then like the next time you go, they have another cool design. They do like everything's in limited runs, so that you're so tempted to buy everything they have.
I'll drop their link too. Local businesses need love right now.
So also there's a dog right now, a big old lab mix. I mean, this guy is huge. He's black, and he's been in a body cast. But he's so big that they have to get out and walk him. So in the rain today, he's got his trash bag on.
He's got his trash bag on? Yeah.
I feel so bad for this dog.
Poor doggo.
Had to have something done. We've been through doggy rehab before. Our poor Lottie has broken both of her front legs in separate instances, both before she was a year old. So we know what having a cast and all of that is like. She is now a bionic puppy.
Next step is to get the retractable Wolverine claws.
I think she could be pretty vicious with those. That kind of scares me.
Her little stuffed squirrels would not survive.
No. Oh my gosh, the toy bill would be huge for her then. Keep her entertained. What's nice with small dogs is it's really hard for them to tear up their toys, so they last pretty long. So in a minute, I'm going to move on to something else. Onto here, I'm going to finish these 2 circles and show you how that's going to get done. I've got to make a choice on how I'm going to do this live stream. Am I going to do everything on camera for this piece, or am I going to show you parts of it and then finish off camera so that we finish it faster? I haven't decided yet, so love some feedback on that. I mean, right now, given the way things going, we've all got some time to kill. I'm gonna put I'm debating whether that's even worth. My brown that I'm using right now is a 1. I do not have any zeros, double zeros, quad zeros. To like do a super. Oh, that's still even too much. I am still putting it in there. It does, because I'm adding the white, it does make the paint a hair creamier looking than even where it's like the same value. So I want to make sure that that kind of blends in. So now I'm going to show you guys how the waves are done. And rather than it being the full shape, what I do is I just pick a side. And we start like that. And now we're going to blend her in. And this looks really, really weird until it gets the line work on top, and then it makes perfect sense. It's like, oh, that's so cool. So just that, I'm going to blend it a little bit more. So that's how the waves will be done. And this guy comes up like that. So if you have kids, how are you keeping them occupied at home right now? Ours are older, so I'm not having to resort to arts and crafts time necessarily to keep them from going stir crazy. But we are trying to incorporate learning time a little bit. Because the governor of California yesterday stated that it looks like they will probably not be going back to school this year. So we're going to have to resort to some online learning of some sort to finish out the year. Fortunately, the boys' college classes, for the most part, because they're dual enrolled, so they're in high school and they do high school and college classes, like actually on a college campus at the same time. That's going to be a little interesting because they're both in sciences right now, so the lab portions are going to be interesting to figure out. Jeremiah's is in audio engineering, and they use Pro Tools, and we do not have a computer here at home that can do Pro Tools, so we've got to kind of figure out how that might work. The beauty is we have all the other equipment he needs. Like the other day he did a project from upstairs. We have microphones, we have all of that from having the studio, so that made life pretty easy on that front. That is way too much paint. I was trying to... Let's corral that where it goes here. Kind of push it. Darken that back up. There we go. Most of the time in painting, it can be fixed. I'm also working at a really weird angle right now.
Not used to working with the camera immediately to your left?
No, not right. Like sitting here like a parrot on my shoulder, basically. I will say it's better. Our first video we did, and it's on the channel. You can go see it. It's me painting, and I basically did most of that painting in one marathon night, and it was the biggest canvas I've ever done. And it was a lot of fun to do, but that was like the first time really working with the camera and everything else in place. Because I went from too much white to not quite enough. It was an adventure, and we had it on a tripod kind of sitting back, and getting the tripod sitting in the right spot and angled. And I think we were still on, we did that one on a cell phone. We had another little digital camera that we tried to do some work on. It was always a little bit finicky. So didn't do as much on that as we did cell phones. And it was even an iPhone 4 at that point. I didn't even have a 6 yet. So if you watch some of the early videos, like, this is really grainy, I was like, yeah, because that was the equipment I had. It wasn't that the camera was out of focus. Although I did have trouble with that, like learning how to turn off autofocus so that I could keep it from focusing on my hand and instead focusing on the piece. Because the cameras naturally want to focus on what's moving, which makes sense. So instead it's better to, when you find that setting, go in there and say, no, I'm going to set the focus and lock it. Walking up to get lunches today is not going to be so much fun, Benjamin.
No.
We've been using...
I think the umbrella's in the car.
As I said yesterday, the kids get lunch through school, and we've been using that this time. It's been a great chance to get out of the house for just a moment, walk up, get a little bit of exercise in a safe way, pick up lunch. They've just got a table outside under a little tent, and you pick up a sack lunch and come home for school. And they had the breakfast yesterday, so the kids had breakfast this morning, provided too. Now, I'm wondering if they're going to be able to transition to anything warm, seeing they're not eating on site.
Probably not.
So it's going to be all the cold lunches, which aren't necessarily the favorites, because it's basically been a chicken salad the past couple days. But given that they're packing these for kids to take home, and we are fortunate our local site is close. There are some that aren't so close. But wow, it is just coming down. They were saying there's going to be like a winter storm for the mountains. You know, normally with rain here too, not that we don't get a lot of it, it's like one rain. And so since it rained this morning before we got out of bed, I thought, oh, okay, that's the rain for the day. It's done. I thought it was gonna be over with. I was wrong.
So...
Anything interesting on social media right now?
Well, I was trying to figure out what we can talk about that's not related to the thing that you can't talk about on YouTube.
Oh, yeah. Have I done good? I'm realizing I haven't thought so much about my wording today. I don't think I've said anything I can't.
No, I mean, here, let's go to fun on Twitter. Okay, yeah, this is good. This is good.
Okay.
So, because of things...
Okay.
The Shed Aquarium in Chicago
Yeah.
has been letting the penguins out for walks every day.
Oh, I saw him on the stairs.
And so, yeah, they get to go walk around and look at the fish and check out the facilities. And so everybody's having fun just watching penguins. Like 3 days ago, they started off penguins in the Amazon. They went on a field trip.
They look like preschoolers. I'm not kidding.
Yeah, they
like
really do.
Getting preschoolers up and around the spot and getting. I mean, that was my first thought. Like young preschoolers.
Yeah, so if you haven't seen that yet, hop on Twitter, look up the Shed Aquarium, and they have several videos, and it's just a lot of fun. Oh, and they're going to start covering their nesting, which will be happening soon. So if you're a penguin person,
So they're getting out and about before they settle in.
right.
Because typically, I think
See if I can
nesting
drop a link for that. Hang on.
typically means that you're not going anywhere, right? As an animal.
Right. Let's see here. Shed Aquarium. There we go. Cool. Here comes the link. Shed Aquarium.
There's that. Next little bit here.
Penguin field trips.
It's weird doing this kind of stuff because normally this is the stuff in edited videos that I put something on my iPad to listen or watch, and it gets edited to the point that it's just really sped up.
Let's see, what else do we have? Everybody forgot that yesterday was St. Patrick's Day.
I am in that crew. It was later in the day before I remembered, oh yeah, and I wasn't wearing any green. We did something new yesterday.
What?
We live streamed some
Oh.
gaming. We haven't done that really before over on Twitch.
Over on Twitch?
That was fun. We'll probably hop back on that again today in a little while. We also have some podcasts to record for This Isn't Every Day, which is our new podcast that's just waiting for Apple at this point so that we'll launch it 100%.
I'll drop my Twitch profile in the...
So basically, we're following you on Minecraft, and I'm in there as well. But
Right.
because I am a iPad gamer, which I guess I could set up on Mixer
Yeah.
straight out
Yeah,
of my
you could.
iPad, and we could be running that there for my feed. But I'm not too super worried about it. I'm mic'd with you, but you have to come over to visit me for everybody to see what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So,
But that's been kind of fun. Just doing some new things. And I don't know if I've put that this isn't every day.
which it's funny that we're having, because we're sharing, like live streaming, because right now internet, 'cause so many people are on at homes, is running a little slower, and especially during peak times in the evenings. Our son has had to move downstairs to stream. Normally he streams upstairs. And so we're having to set a schedule for who streams when in the house. So that way we're not running double streams and like really overloading everything that's happening. It's always fun to me how weird this looks when I get this white in for the waves, and then it makes perfect sense when I go back in and do the ink work. But right now it's like, okay, that's a little interesting.
I dropped our Spotify link for our podcast that drops on Monday. Yeah, and
Hopefully.
then there'll be do you mean put the YouTube channel in there too?
I don't. Yeah, we can put the YouTube up there. It's my other channel that I was running my business blog off of. We were starting the studio, and so we're reworking that channel. It's always kind of had a "this is an everyday slant" on that one, so using the name was easy. So, but we'll have videos up too if you want to. If you'd rather put it on through YouTube, it'll be available there. Some little silly videos for the background because we're not actually videoing ourselves while we're doing it right now. We haven't. We may add that in.
I like our alternative.
It's fun.
There.
But we haven't decided 100% what that it's gonna look
I'll
like.
do a
It's
Bitly
still
link for that because it's so long.
yeah, because it's gobbledygook. There we go. There, those started. The little ones, so much harder than the bigger ones.
There we go. We are full of links today. You just crossed the 1 hour mark on today's stream.
Okay, so I'm probably going to call it after I finish these couple of waves right here. I am going to go ahead and finish up the turquoise, this turquoise that I've done off camera just because keeping paint alive for multiple days can get a little taxing. The other ones, since they're not in an open palette, can last and come back to, and I don't have to worry about remixing them. If this was a straight color, I wouldn't worry so much about it because, oh, I can just make more, but this one's a little more finicky. So
Looks like the rain's backing off too, so we can go for a little walk here in a minute.
ooh,
Maybe.
it's still, it's windy too, so it's gonna be cold. Everybody knows that cold, damp feeling. That's basically what it is. And it's interesting because cold and damp, to me at least, because my perception of cold is very interesting, at 30 versus 50 is like basically no different.
Mm-hmm.
So this will just, I'll go out there and this will just be like, it's really, really cold. A little more white in there. There we go. Yeah, this is where it gets interesting. I'm going to scoot it over a little bit here. There we go. So that I'm off the edge of my canvas here. So I don't, it's hard to get in that spot. And I work all the way to the edge. Needs a little more white on this one.
Kind of curious if we can figure out if we can get you set up on Twitch while you're painting too.
And you can play around with that. Our live streamer only lets us choose one platform right now.
Oh, I know. There's just other ways around things though.
blended nicely. I'm probably going to add a little bit more white up here at the top. One of the things I know in doing realism, actually it's not technically realism, doing things that are a little more photorealistic, is that most of the time you can't go that wrong.
Lukey Doo 2003 says hello.
Hello, welcome. You can never go wrong deepening your darks and lightening your lights, for the most part. Pop this in down here, and that's gonna be the end for today on this, because I do have other, as we just said, other live streaming things that we're gonna be doing. So that finishes it
And
for
lunch.
today. Yes, lunch. I'm getting hungry. I haven't eaten breakfast yet, so it's hitting. So if you want to hop over to my face cam, Ben, I will call this off. I can turn, where's the light switch?
Switch that off.
I'm trying to feel this in the dark.
You're not in the right neighborhood.
Woo! We went dark. So hop
There
over
you go,
to
you're
the face
back.
cam. Am I okay in the face cam,
You're
or
fine,
am I
you're
like
fine, you're
totally
fine.
in the
Yes.
shadows? Like I'm lurking. Anyway, so again, greetings from day 3 at home, and I hope that you've enjoyed this little bit. We will be back tomorrow and every day until this little bit of self-isolation is over. I'm going to finish up the turquoise that I was working on in the other areas off camera, and then we will jump in tomorrow with the other colors. So I will see you then, same time, 10 a.m. Pacific Daylight Savings Time. So PDT, whatever that translates to you, I will see you then. Look forward to it. Bye.